Well, I'm back. I know it's been a couple months and I'm sorry for disappearing, but I'll try and make sure it doesn't happen again. But today I'm going to be talking about WWDC 25, which I know happened a little while ago, but I felt like the announcements were more or less interesting, so I decided to talk about it. So the first major change, well, it's not really major, but it's a change, is the naming system. Now they decided to switch it to a new yearly naming system. So like all of the OSs have 26. They didn't put 25 because they're going to come out in September. So then it's only going to be 2025 for 2 more months or something like that. So they just changed it to 26 to make it feel newer. You get what I mean? That makes sense, and honestly I would make that same decision. So that's really the naming system. So that means Vision OS 26, iOS 26, iPad OS 26, Mac OS 26, Watch OS 26, TV OS 26. Yeah. So first, I'm going to talk about iOS 26 because that's what most of us are here for. So the first major change is liquid glass. So now lots of new design elements like the control center, even the lock screen, the keyboard, the camera app, and widgets, and lots of other elements. They all have this new like clear, fluid design, and like not just the design but the animations too. And I think it's really cool, and it's very unique. You don't see it all the time. There are slight complaints about how in some places it's too clear, which I agree with, but I'll break that down in my iOS 26 video, so I'm not going to touch too much on that. But overall, I think that liquid glass is actually a very nice change, and it gives the phone a new feel. It gives it a more modern feel, a new feel in general. And after that, the lock screen got some new features like a 3D def like wallpaper like option. So basically what it does, it takes a person or animal or like just a subject in your photo, and it gives the lock screen wallpaper a 3D effect. And not only that, there's this new like dynamic clock that adapts to the size of your wallpaper, so it can stretch out, it can be bigger, and like stuff like that, just so it fits into your like lock screen wallpaper, like in general. So I think that's really cool, and it's a lot of attention to detail. This new feature is called Spatial Scene Wallpaper, which is actually a very good name. And I feel like they're doing this because a lot of these companies, like, because I don't know if you've seen the new Android XR glasses, this Meta, Ray-Ban, all that stuff. So these companies are basically trying to make us like adapt to the world of VR, XR. That's why Apple and lots of other companies are trying to make the phones feel like that experience. Like the liquid glass element design was inspired by Vision OS, and it's a really cool thing. The new camera app is very minimal. Everything is still there. They didn't cut off on any features, but everything is hidden. So it's just a lot cleaner. And like I said, I'm gonna talk about that in my iOS 26 video, so I'm not gonna touch too much on that. This is more of like a summary video. There's new chat backgrounds and messages and polls, which has been on WhatsApp for a long time now, and not just WhatsApp but other messaging apps, so it's not really a new thing, but it's nice that they're just starting to add it to their phones more, because a lot of iPhone users definitely realize that they're missing out on a lot of stuff that used to be Android exclusive, but it's really nice that this stuff is being added to the iPhone. And there's this new like typing animation for when multiple people are texting at once, which I think is a very cool little design element. There's a new games app, which is good, I guess you could say. It's not really something we really needed, but somebody will appreciate it. Here's another good thing that like came to iOS 26. This feature is actually very overdue, and literally very overdue. A lot of phones have this already, and that's a live translation in calls and messages. So it's about time, man. Thank you, Apple, for finally adding it. Visual intelligence, you can basically just call it screen intelligence at this point, because it's basically just circle to search, and it's really just Apple's version of circle to search. And you can now search things that are on your screen. You can search a screenshot. If you have a screenshot of a poster, you can add it to your calendar with details, all that stuff that was in circle to search. And really, it's just circle to search. Like, just call it screen intelligence. Just call it the circle to search copycat. And I know Samsung decided to copy Apple's dynamic island with their new now bar, but it's really just a back and forth with these companies, so they're just copying each other at this point. And you can also ask ChatGPT about something that's on your screen, which is just Gemini on Apple, ChatGPT. So yeah, copying, but who's complaining? And there's new call screening and holding. So if you receive a call or a message from a random number that you don't have saved, or you just don't know, or in general, or a number that hasn't called you before, like AI in the phone app will screen it, ask them questions so you can see if it's a scam or not. And you can also get your phone to go on hold for you, so then you'll get a notification when it's time to get off the hold. So that's actually very useful, and I seriously hope that like Android phone companies add that too, because that's actually something that's very useful. And honestly, I didn't think about it before, but it's like now that it's here, I realize how important that actually is. Now let's talk about macOS Tahoe 26. Same basic stuff, liquid glass, new live translation, but there's also a new phone app which actually looks very nice, and there's new live actions from your iPhone. So if you have something like you're tracking an order from Uber Eats or something on your iPhone, it'll be on your Mac too, so very useful. New color folders, so now you can change your folder colors. And there's a new Spotlight update, and it's the biggest Spotlight update ever. You can now make Spotlight do hundreds of actions without you even needing to open the app, which is kind of like the same thing as Gemini Overlay, just on Mac, and it's actually very useful. So you can literally send an email or a message to multiple people at once, and you don't even have to open up the phone app, and it's just an easier way to browse your files, your folders, all that stuff. And then there's a new Photos app. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, there's a new Photos app for iOS 26 too. Yeah, because the monstrosity that they did to the Photos app last time was just, I'm done. Now, iPad OS 26. This is actually the most feature-packed thing, and it's the most surprising update in like the entire event. Basically, we have the new liquid glass design. Okay, everything's getting that now. And it's not just that, there's new app designs. And in general, Apple actually made the iPad feel more like a Mac. And they're not undercutting their like Mac and their phones or in general. Tablets in general have always been known to be a mix of computers and phones. And Apple really actually took this under their wing. There's new multitasking features just like a Mac, and now you can arrange windows on your screen, and you can have up to 4 windows open at once. Of course, you can't have as much windows open as a Mac, but at least now you can open up multiple apps and do things. And now you can do actions in the background, which is long overdue. That is long overdue. So now you could be editing a video in CapCut or something, and then the video will be processing in the background, and you don't have to stay in the app. Thank you, Apple. Thank you. And now you have the 3 main window buttons that are usually present on a Mac, which is the close button, the minimize button, and the expand button. So like I said, they're making it feel more like a Mac, but like a portable Mac, a thinner, portable, smaller Mac without the keyboard that's like always attached. So yeah, really combining phone and computer. And then you can, just like with the Mac, you can also change the folder colors too. Live translations, call screening and holds for the phone app. There's a new phone app redesign. Polls and backgrounds in messages. It's the same basic stuff as the iPhone, because like I said, iPhone and Mac together. So it kind of got features from both worlds. And there's also a new Photos app. So it's really a mix of both worlds, and iPads are really living up to their name now, really. They were already good before, but now they're just almost overpowered at this point. If you want an alternative from a phone and a Mac and you just don't want either one, well, somebody's always gonna have a phone, obviously. But like, if you want something that's a step up from a phone, but not crazy expensive, crazy overpowered like a Mac, get an iPad. At this point, just get an iPad. Now, watchOS 26. After tvOS, it basically didn't get much updates, but now there's a new workout buddy that encourages you to keep going, that tells you your goals and if you reach them or stuff like that, which is very useful, and it'll motivate a lot of people. So that's actually very useful, and I'm glad they added it. Obviously, the new liquid glass interface, and now you can also set milestones with that workout buddy. So like I said, it'll tell you when you reach your goals, it'll tell you how long until you reach the goal, how much more steps you got, how much more miles you're running, how much more time you got, you get the vibe. Smart actions, backgrounds and messages, same basic stuff for phones and texting. Call and text screening can go on hold for you. Really, it's just the same stuff as the iPhone. and the iPad. A more advanced smart stack, so it'll give you hints at ways to deal with a notification or a widget. And also there's a new notes app, so that's good. And there's this new feature that involves gestures. It's like a smart flick, like literally you just flick your wrist and then you can mute notifications, you can get off a call, you can stop a timer, you can pause a timer, all that stuff, and there's more options too. And now Vision OS 26, this actually got a pretty good update. Like, it's really exciting actually. You can now blend apps and widgets with your face, so like you can literally put a clock widget on your wall, and then even if you reboot the Vision Pro, you restart it or anything, it's always going to remember that it's there and it was on that exact spot in your wall. And you can do this with a lot of stuff like calendar, and what I really like, you can do this with photos too. So like so if you have a really nice panoramic photo, you could place it on your wall and make it feel like a window if it's like something that's outdoorsy or something like that. It's very nice. I think that's my favorite update to Vision OS 26. There's new widget options, and there's like spatial scenes when you're scrolling the internet too. There's also a new persona, which we all can agree, well, most of us can agree, was creepy before, so at least they're adding more details to it. Maybe that'll take away some of the creepiness, because like, yeah, no thanks. We already got AI cloning our voices, no thanks. It can support 360 and 180 video. There's more support for more accessories like from Logitech than PlayStation. Now there's folders and 90 Hz hand tracking, so smoother experience. And you can now look at 3D models when you're shopping. So if you're shopping for furniture, developers can put 3D models. They can build it into their apps and websites, and then you can literally look at it as if it was in your space, basically like AR. So that's actually very useful, and I know a lot of people are going to find that useful. I know I would find that useful, so that's very good. You can unlock your iPhone by glancing at it, which is actually going to be very useful because some people don't find it comfortable to like be doing stuff with the Vision Pro. So not having to fumble with your like iPhone screen is very useful. Actually, it wouldn't be very useful. It is very useful because now all you got to do is just hold up your iPhone, look at it, that's it. It just unlocks, so that's good. But the biggest update in general to Vision OS 26 is shared experiences. Now, everybody was complaining about this in the last Vision OS update and the first update too. Basically, you couldn't share an experience with other people around you, but now two people who are basically in the same space, and I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty sure you can also, they don't have to be next to you or in the same room. I'm not sure what the range is, but cutting to the chase, not beating around the bush, you can now share movies, videos, like you can both be looking at it at the same time. And I really hope it's like this, but I feel like that's what they did, but I'm not sure because like we haven't really seen much of it. I feel like if one person is on the left of a window and the person is on the right of the window, it'll realistically visualize where it is. So kind of like if you're watching a show, it'll make it feel like you're actually sitting in the room watching TV with the person. So I really hope that's what they did, and that's actually very useful. So now you can play games together and stuff like that too. And then just a very small little update, but very nice. There's this new Jupyter environment, so thank you, I guess. Well, that was really it. tvOS, I didn't talk about that because there wasn't really much changes. It was just more of a liquid glass feel. I'll be doing breakdown videos of iOS 26, macOS Tahoe 26, and Vision OS 26. So if I didn't say iPadOS too. So I'll be doing best feature videos and like a breakdown of all the features and like basically a review to tell you what I think about the new features. And I know for a fact the liquid glass thing is gonna steal the show in that video because like very useful but kind of annoying in some places. Like I feel like it's really nice, but they did too much with it. Well, that was it for this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.